Thanks everyone for joining. I'm Dipinder Singh Dhingra, the founder and CEO of RevSure.ai, and welcome to this webinar on leveraging predictive and generative AI for enhanced pipeline generation and predictability. Today, I'm joined by Katie Linford, who's Principal Analyst, Revenue Operations at Forrester, who's going to be joining me as a key speaker for this session. We'll start with quick introductions. I'll start by introducing myself, then I'll hand it over to Katie, who will take the first segment of this webinar. I'm Dipinder. We founded RevSure about 2.5 years back to build the future of B2B attribution for marketing teams with complex mid-market and enterprise GTM motions. I've spent over 20 years in the big data analytics, AI, and machine learning space, solving many of the problems around marketing mix and marketing multi-touch attribution for Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 B2B and B2C companies. And that's based on that experience, we decided to start RevSure to bring that expertise in the B2B SaaS and B2B GTM space. I'll now hand it over to Katie to give a quick introduction, and then we'd love to hear her thoughts on how predictive AI and generative AI can be leveraged by B2B marketing teams better.
Thanks. I am Katie Linford, Principal Analyst in the, as Dipinder said, Revenue Operations Service at Forrester. I've got 20 years of experience building and maintaining technology to support go-to-market teams, and have started out as a developer, so love the technology and getting into what's really happening behind the scenes and how technology can serve our customers. So been with Forrester for about 4 years now, covering marketing technology, sales technology, AI, and customer data. So looking forward to diving in a little bit today on how predictive and generative AI can help enhance pipeline. Now, when I talk with clients about AI, one of the questions that I get probably the most is, how do I successfully bring AI into my go-to-market strategy? There's so much technology out there. There are so many AI-enabled tools. How do I know what to bring? How do I bring it in? And first and foremost, AI, like any other kind of technology, there's so much noise out there about AI that we sometimes start thinking about it separate from our tech, but really it's a critical component of that. But AI has to deliver value. Now, saying AI must deliver value sounds a little bit kind of fuzzy, a little nebulous. So if we start to break this down, we can say AI must deliver worth, utility, and importance. And the real key here is that word relative, right? Because something that is maybe valuable to me may not be valuable to you. So it's this relative worth, utility, and importance. So if AI has to deliver this, the question we need to ask is, to whom? Who do we need to consider when it comes to the value, that worth, utility, and importance that AI can bring? And first and foremost, it has to be to our customers. If we aren't providing value to our customer, if we're not putting them at the center of everything we do, then none of the rest of this really matters. Because if we're not providing value for our customers, then they are going to get frustrated. We're not going to meet their expectations, and they're going to end up leaving, and we'll lose their business. So first and foremost, must be value to the customers. And if we bring value to customers, it will inherently bring value to the business, because it's going to lead to the business being successful. And then, of course, we also want to make sure that these AI tools that are being used internally by our teams, that it's bringing value to them in the way that they get their work done and the work they produce. So how do you go about doing this? How do you make sure that that the AI that you bring is focused on your customers. And it starts with taking this outcome-focused approach. Because of all the technology out there, it's easy to let it kind of drive the direction. And there are so many amazing capabilities that our vendors are talking about. But that can take us any number of places if we start with the technology first. So we need to start with those customer-centric business goals. So what is it that the business wants to accomplish? How is the business planning on providing that value to the customers? From then, we're going to start to break this down. So how do the go-to-market functions, what are their quantifiable objectives? What are their plans and their strategy for helping the business support its goals? We can then take these objectives and think about the processes and the activities that need to happen for those functional objectives to be achieved. Then we can get into defining business requirements. So when we think about those processes and those steps, what is it that needs to happen along the way to successfully meet that process? Then we can finally get to, of those business requirements, where can we find technology and AI to help meet those needs to make it successful? And you can see how this starts from our business goals, and we can ladder this down and directly connect how our tech and AI is going to provide value to our customers and help the business meet its goals. So this is going to ensure that when we're picking technology, it's anchored in, again, that customer value and what it is that the business has determined needs to happen to be successful. Now, when we think about AI and all of the capabilities that are out there in our go-to-market tools, it's a lot, and it can feel overwhelming. And it can be helpful as you're going through this process of looking at and selecting technologies to think about AI in terms of kind of larger capability groups. So we're going to go through 5 of those now. So the first is automation. And this is the most common form of AI that we see in our go-to-market tools. And it's what takes those repetitive and routine tasks that can be handed over to a machine, and we let the technology handle it so we can be a bit more productive and we can work faster. Next is perceptive AI. And this looks at large amounts of data and looks for different patterns and provides insight on what this big group of data has to say. So we can get that summarization and understand what's been going on. Predictive AI takes that to that next step of, we look at this historical data, we see these insights, and then it looks for trends, and it makes quantitative forecasts or estimations on future outcomes to help us better plan. Prescriptive AI gets into helping with the customer experience and customer engagement, and it provides personalization or things like recommended next best steps. So how can we get our customer to engage with us more by being intelligent about what we serve them? And finally, generative AI, as the name states, it generates new content, it derives new content based on learned patterns from most often large language models, small language models, or other type of generative AI models. So thinking about AI in these terms can help you as you are digging into this very large landscape of tools out there to determine what it is that you're looking for, what it is that you need, and help help break it down, help provide a little bit of direction, and communicate better internally on what capabilities you're looking for. And so today we're going to focus on two of these, predictive and generative. And we're going to look at how we can use these tools to improve campaign effectiveness and conversions. So first, with predictive AI, probably one of the most common, if not the most common use case I get from clients talking about AI is audience targeting and segmentation. And so this uses predictive models to look at customer behavior and preferences and demographic, and it takes these different customers and puts them into groups with like attributes. So we can create campaigns that are more catered to those groups and their specific needs to provide them a better experience. Opportunity and scoring prioritization is definitely an important one. When we think about all of the opportunities that we have in the pipeline, there's going to be a lot there. So we want to focus on the opportunities that we think are most likely to convert. So these predictive models take a look at what has happened historically for successful sales. What are those attributes? What are we seeing in the pipeline where customers most likely meet those attributes, and helps us prioritize those. Sales forecasting is something that most sales teams don't love to do. It's not always the easiest task. Predictive AI has been helping in this area for a while, and we're seeing it make some really good improvements. So this looks at that past sales data to help sales teams better adjust their strategies and estimate future revenue. And finally, content and channel recommendations, using some intelligence to see what has been most successful with engagement and engagement paths in the past, and recommend that specific content and that channel so we're hitting our customers with the right message in the right place. Now, with generative AI, a great use case is this easy data query. So being able to use natural language to ask questions of a large set of data. Content creation, of course, the most common use case we see for generative AI, and this is helping go-to-market teams create first drafts and do some ideation for content, video, and imagery code. Really useful feature. Personalized content. Our generative AI can also find some patterns in engagement data and not only recommend content, but also modify the content so it's tailored to what the audience is looking for. And finally, conversation automation. These tools today are not our chatbots of the past, which I know I've had some frustrating experiences with. But when they're trained on large language models that are well trained on your data, they can provide a lot of self-service capabilities that customers are looking for. And we're seeing a lot of organizations use these as successful inbound channels. So some great use cases, some really great things that these tools can provide, but when you put them together and combine the predictive and the generative, you can get even better results. So on-demand dashboards based on predictive insights. So using the brain and the models of a predictive AI with that generative AI front end, so you can use that natural language to create on-demand dashboards. Informed content creation, again, uses the intelligence that the predictive AI brings and the creativity of generative AI to speed up and optimize the messaging and the content that we're putting in front of our audiences. And finally, dynamic and personalized recommended next best action. So this is taking that informed content creation a step further. And if you have, your system's well connected and data well connected, these are capabilities that can be used in real time to in the moment personalize and optimize the content that we're putting in front of our audiences. So many great things that can come from the insights that that AI can provide. But what we're seeing is that a lot of organizations aren't really using the insights as well as they could and getting the benefit out of them. And only 36% of organizations are using these insights for decision making. So what are some steps that you can take to elevate those insights, to bring that confidence, and to really improve the accuracy of your pipeline predictions? So first, of course, address your data. We all know what we put into our AI is a lot of what we get out of it. So make sure that your data is high quality, you have the data you need, and that the tools have access to it. Then make sure that you are doing your due diligence when selecting these models. There are a lot of different types of predictive models out there. So be sure you're getting the one that meets your use case and make sure that you're training it on your data and the insights you want to see. And take advantage of the capabilities these models provide in terms of scenario planning and forecasting. Put them to the test. Do those A/B tests. See what is going to work best for you, where the model can provide the most value, and where it needs to be adjusted. And be sure that you are continually adjusting it and that you're establishing those strong metrics so you can prove how the AI is having an impact. But be sure again that these feedback loops and this training stays something that is a constant throughout the use of the model. Our customers and their data don't stay the same, and the scenarios don't stay the same. So we want to make sure that our models are working for our current environment. So those are just a few things that you can do to improve your insights and bring some confidence into the insights that you provide. Back to you, Deepinder.
Great, thank you, Kerry. That was a great session. I really like the first thing, which was focus on value and business outcomes, right? Because that's key, right? So figuring out how to apply AI to create better decisions is the most important thing. And really liked your segmentation of the different types of AI applications, which is the automation AI, perceptive AI, which is very interesting, predictive, prescriptive, and generative. In terms of applications, are you seeing any specific areas that are getting used more than others? Like, is it more around, I know content generation with generative AI is one of the most used, but apart from that, on the predictive AI side, where have companies and teams found most value in successfully applying AI and predictive AI specifically?
So we're finding more and more uses of predictive AI as we are really opening up what we consider to be data, right? Like content is data, and there's so much information that our customers give us. If we can take it in and understand it. So absolutely the common areas that I'm seeing for sure are those opportunity scores, as we talked about earlier. Getting more into planning and strategy is also an area where we're seeing predictive AI emerge, and thinking about it more from your go-to-market strategy. So generally with predictive AI, we tend to think about it more at a tactical, individual kind of step level, but it can be really insightful as we collect all this data to up-level it, look at the data more across how we're doing our campaigns, how we have put together, our strategies for how marketing and sales work together. And by broadening those insights and elevating how we're looking at it, we're seeing a lot of customers get a lot of value out of using it for strategy and planning.
Very interesting. Yeah, I think that's a pattern that we are seeing in our customers as well. So with that, we'll come back to questions. I'm sure the attendees have a lot of questions, and everyone, please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A panel. I'll start by talking about how RevSure is approaching this space, the specific problem that we are addressing to solve, as well as some of the key principles that Katie talked about. Our focus has really been about helping B2B marketing teams solve the problem of attribution, right? We all know traditional attribution does not work. There's a distrust of attribution methodologies. Most teams think about attribution as a justification mechanism for the past rather than future decisions. And all sales and marketing teams are usually stuck in credit wars. Like who gets the credit has become one of the key controversial points that most teams struggle with. So our focus was trying to understand why this has been the case. And we found that there were really two reasons why traditional attribution has not worked. First, most companies have focused on a first or last or a source-based attribution methodology, which really does not capture all of the touches and the right data points. So incomplete data capture and an incomplete approach to thinking about attribution really leads to attribution wars, because you're really not able to capture the influence of all of the touches, right? So even if you looked at a source-based attribution in a traditional attribution sense, that source is just the final capture mechanism of a lead or of an account or of a buyer or a prospect that came to your website or came through a particular channel. It's just a capture mechanism for that. It really doesn't tell you what happened all the way before that that helped get that particular lead or account into your funnel or into your buyer journey. So most systems and most approaches have had incomplete capture of data. They've been limited to marketing campaigns, not and very siloed. So they really did not look at all of the touches that are going on across the buyer journey, whether those are marketing or the SDR, BDR touches, or even the sales touches or partner touches. So they really did not, try to create a synergy or capture the synergies between the marketing, the SDR, BDR, the sales motion. They're not really designed to adapt to hybrid GTM motions. It's not uncommon to find, and I'm sure in your case, in your respective companies, you have hybrid GTM motions. It's a combination of marketing-led, sales-led, PLG, ABM, lead-based motion, all coming together realistically in a scenario, especially if you have multiple channels, multiple segments, multiple regions. You are bound to have a hybrid GTM motion. And most rule-based methodologies are really not data-based. They don't learn from the data. They are really based on opinions. The other aspect of why attribution fails is the mindset with which one approaches how you want to make decisions and how you want to take action. Most attribution is really seen as an after-the-fact reporting, right? You're looking at once a month or once a quarter or at the end of a campaign, rather than as a measurement mechanism to prove value and justify value or measure value, which is good, but it really disconnected from day-to-day funnel tactics or day-to-day orchestration of buyer journeys. So what ends up happening is attribution is usually disconnected from how you execute. Further, it gives you incomplete insights across the different regions, channels, segments, motions. And we all know the proverbial dark funnel, especially in this privacy compliant environment. You're not able to capture all of the touches. And that's why traditional attribution has failed. And we tend to hear a lot of these frustrations and pain points from many, many customers. Attribution, which was supposed to help you drive better pipeline and better ROI while meeting your pipeline generation goals, ended up being just a reactive measurement mechanism. Now, there have been recent advances in attribution methods, especially touch-based attribution, multi-touch-based attribution. Still, these haven't been enough because most of these are rules-based and so they're opinion-based. And so what ends up happening is even these recent advances leave a lot to be desired. And you hear this in many, many pain points that customers express. So our perspective was, can we use AI and data to change first the approach towards attribution? And we came up with 5 key dimensions that organizations need to adopt to figure out how to transform attribution from just a measurement approach to more of an actionable and a forward-looking approach. And those 5 dimensions are: first, when you are having an attribution initiative within the company, what is the key question you're trying to answer? Is it really about who gets the credit? Does that really matter? Or is it really about you're trying to understand where to double down on? Which channels, with campaign tactics, which combination of orchestration between marketing and SDR, BDR motion, and sales motion really drives the best bang for the buck? Second, are you really looking at just marketing campaigns, or you really need to look at the end-to-end GTM motion, the full funnel perspective? So it's the scope. Is your attribution just restricted to marketing scope, or is it really looking at the full funnel and the full GTM motion? Third thing, what do you really expect out of your attribution? Is it just ROI measurement? Or is it about my attribution should help give me recommendations on reallocation? It should tell me what tactics, what is the next best action I need to do? The fourth is it about end of quarter or end of month rear view mirror and measurement? Or is it about a forward looking? Can it be predictive? Can attribution predict the performance and the ROI of your spend even before you do it, right? What if one can tell you that if you spend X dollars 9 months down the line, what return you will get out of it? Because in the B2B world, we know that we spend $1 today, the return on that spend is not going to come for many months, depending on your end-to-end life cycle across the marketing funnel and the sales life cycle. But what if you could have a forward-looking perspective so that you can make better decisions? And finally, is it about planning is important, but can it give you day-to-day decisions for real-time refinement and next best touch? And that has really been our overall perspective to thinking about how to apply predictive AI in the attribution space. And so what our perspective is, can we look at attribution, the problem of attribution in a different way, which is thinking about the full funnel, not only in terms of the end-to-end journey from an anonymous visitor to opportunity and close one and beyond, but also full funnel in a perspective that can help look at all of the touches, the synergies of the touches across the marketing, the SDR, BDR motion, and the AE motion. And if you have a partner motion, that as well, as an example. And then can it give you guidance across predictively helping you improve your ROI, track, attribute, not just measure, but also predict the performance of your campaigns, and then recommend the best campaigns where you want to increase, decrease, stop, spend on, so that you can crush your ROI. The second is, can attribution insights also help you accelerate pipeline? Can you prioritize the right leads and accounts and opportunities based on a predictive pipeline propensity or on a predictive booking propensity? And this goes back to what Katie mentioned in terms of opportunity scoring, right? So that you can then focus on the most promising leads, accounts, and opportunities. Because at any point, at any stage in your buyer journey, only 5% to 10% are worth going after at this point in time to help maximize your efforts, to help you drive speed to pipeline. And the third thing is give you better predictability. So can attribution then also help you predict how much pipeline you'll end up generating? So you can confidently commit to both pipeline generation targets as well as pipeline coverage targets. So with that perspective, right, this approach has to be extremely data oriented, right? Because you have to bring the full funnel aspect. So not only integrate data from your marketing systems and your paid campaign systems like Google, Meta, LinkedIn, Bing, but across the GTM motion, integrating data across all of the touch points as much as possible from the dark funnel to the deep funnel, right? So if you're doing spend on communities, on podcasts, on events, on out of home, etc., both digital, non-digital, on trade shows, conferences, but then also the spend on your ABM programs, gifting programs, etc., as well as track all of the anonymous visitors from coming from different channels onto your website and their website activity. Integrate all of that across your CRM and your marketing automation system, but also your sales automation efforts. Bring all of that together as the key data foundation, because data, again, to Katie's point, is very important. What is the right data foundation for this predictive attribution effort that can then bring all of this data, harmonize that data into almost like a data graph, create a revenue data graph. We all have heard about customer data platforms, right? How do you actually bring a revenue data graph together in a similar vein that harmonizes the data across all of these data sources and the touch points across the end-to-end funnel, harmonizes that, dedupes it, creates all of the linkages, because we all know that data in the GTM tech stack can be quite messy. So solving that problem for any predictive AI effort is key. Without a strong data foundation, you won't be able to drive good predictive AI. And then once that is done, then that can help you stitch together all of the different journeys, at the most granular level, the lead, account, and the opportunity journeys. So you can then figure out what interactions, what attributes, seller interactions, buyer interactions, firmographic attributes, technographic attributes, etc., that that drive conversion versus non-conversion, stage to stage, as well across to final pipeline revenue and beyond. And that's what helps drive better insights through a multi-level predictive AI engine that addresses different key questions, right? Using a marketing mix model harmonized with a touch-based attribution model, harmonized with campaign and channel level performance predictions and predictive pipeline propensities, right? Bringing a multi-level AI and a multi-level predictive AI approach to help you answer different levels of questions for marketing teams to drive better pipeline generation, pipeline predictability. So what I'll do is very quickly talk through and make this real. So for example, what if you could predict the performance of your channels, right? Based on the spend, what is the predicted pipeline value of the channels, which is a forward-looking perspective rather than just a backward-looking perspective. Okay, how much pipeline did I generate from the different channels till now? But if you know what's the projected pipeline value and the projected booking value of the channels or at the campaign level, you can then take better action as to now I can reallocate spend across these channels. I can take more real-time decisions, both the performance of the channels as well as the contribution of the channels. What if I could combine the measurement of the contribution of the channels using a marketing mix predictive AI plus a predictive performance of the channels to make better decisions on the ROI and the marginal contributions? Because attribution is really not about credit. It's really about the contribution of marketing and the contribution of different marketing channels to your overall pipeline and to your overall booking and revenue. So combining a predictive approach and a contribution measurement helps you take better decision around reallocation of spend, right? Then you can start understanding reallocation opportunity. What if I were to take a certain dollar amount? For example, in this case, it's identified about $300,000 of unproductive spend. And if I had to reallocate it, what is my incremental pipeline potential, right? What is my incremental pipeline ROI or my booking ROI potential to help you make the right decisions Again, at multiple levels, at the channel level, at the campaign level, as well as at the tactic level. Can I also get through predictive AI, because we are running multi-level models, right? At the lead level, what is the next best action? What is the next best touch based on the unique journey of each account and each lead and each prospect? Understanding what were the touches across the full funnel that drove stage to stage conversions, can I then get better next best action recommendations that can tell me what to do with this particular lead next that will drive its progress in the journey fastest towards pipeline and revenue? And then finally, can we use Gen AI to summarize these insights so that you can get these insights and you can either in an automated fashion or in a way that you can ask and answer, get automated summaries, automated recommendations delivered to your fingertips, right, on your Slack channels, on your emails, as well as executed. Use Gen AI to orchestrate the execution of these recommendations. So that's the potential of using predictive and with generative AI to help you improve better ROI of your overall GTM campaigns, drive speed to pipeline, as well as give you better predictability around your pipeline generation. And we've seen that in the customers that we are working with, they've been able to significantly improve your ROI, very quickly identify reallocation opportunities while taking action at the most tactical level, at the lead account opportunity level, and be able to refine campaign spend and campaign tactics. Thanks for this. We'd love to take some questions along with this. Great. So we have a few questions that have come in. Katie, I'll start with, I think, questions for you. What role do you see generative AI playing in the future of B2B marketing and sales? It's a pretty broad question. Yeah.
It is. There's going to be a lot that generative AI is going to continue to do for us as we get better at understanding how the models work and training our data on these models. I think the biggest area where we're going to see impact is in self-service, both for internal, our teams, the employees, as well as external. And we found in our recent buying study that the desire that prospects and buyers have for self-service during their buyer journey is continually growing and growing and growing. And so using the ability to interact with information, with data, structured or unstructured, through that natural language interface, I think we're going to see that come across in a lot of different areas. It's going to really expedite how quickly we can get to information and insights.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we are seeing that as well. So we are seeing a lot of obviously automated AI summaries. Content generation is a huge thing, even for sales teams. Just automated lead summaries, account summaries, opportunity summaries plays a big role in helping them take the right decision or take the right action, get better insights on the overall deals at different levels. But then we're also seeing generative AI in the kind of orchestrate execution, right? So being able to, automate the execution of campaigns, automate the execution of sequences based on the different statuses and different stages of any buyer at different stages of the funnel. So we're also seeing that, like, this whole agentic AI automation paradigm is a huge area as well. Another question for you, Katie. What are some of the common challenges you've seen companies face when integrating AI into their GTM strategy, and how can they overcome them?
The biggest challenge that I see companies face is the fact that they go out looking for AI.
Mhm.
instead of looking for the right solution for a problem. And I know that there's a lot of pressure coming from executives, coming from senior leadership, coming from the board. What are we doing with AI? What are we doing with AI? And so I get a lot of questions from clients like, hey, what AI is out there and how can I use it? And it's like, what do you need to do? What problems are you trying to solve? What outcomes are you looking for? So starting with this broad, like we need AI, again, that's that tech oriented decision making, which is going to lead you away from your customers. So coming back to your customer, starting with thinking about the problem to solve and finding the right tool instead of starting with the tool. The other thing that I see organizations do is skip that step around understanding what they actually need the technology to do, and ensuring that the technology can do it in a way that works for the business. So getting into really clearly prioritized, here's what we need to be able to perform in these tools. And then when you're doing RFPs and POCs with vendors, not just asking, can the technology do it, but how does the technology do it? So you're not, put in a position where you have a great tool, but you don't have the right skill set or the number of resources to actually get the value out of the tool you're looking for.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And I think the how is very important. The second thing that's very important is when you're trying to apply predictive AI, you want to be able to understand what the accuracies are based on the data that you have available and the data that can be collected, right? And that's usually not something that you can kind of anticipate right out of the bat. You have to kind of be able to run it and then understand like what is the level of accuracies one can expect, right? Usually applying predictive AI will always put you in a better place compared to where you were, right? Because we had, and this goes to one of the questions, I think that was to me, is that we were talking to one of the CMOs and around pipeline predictions, and he said, hey, Dipinder, Clary has a sales has a Clary that helps sales leaders call a sales forecast, but marketing has no Clary that helps me as a CMO predict how much pipeline I'll end up generating by the end of the quarter, right? I have it somewhere in some spreadsheet, but it's not systematic, it's not scientific, right? And that was a huge, like that was actually one of our discovery, first discovery customers for whom we actually built this pipeline predictions module. But it's all about making it more systematic and scientific, which always gets you one step ahead of where you were, right? And so, I'll go to one of the questions that's actually for me, right? Which how are you ensuring the right data to fuel predictive AI models for pipeline generation? You have to be able to do two things. One is there's a lot of data that's already available. It's just in multiple systems. So you have to be able to integrate the data from the CRM system, all data around your leads, prospects, accounts, the whatever's going on in the marketing automation system, all of the interactions, their email marketing efforts, the paid ad systems, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, Meta ads, etc. Their direct mail campaigns, ABM programs, etc. The first step is to integrate all of the touches and all of the interactions along with key attributes, firmographic, demographic attributes that are happening. That's the first thing. And what we find usually is that if even if a Series A or a Series B company, right, has enough data in the system. So today we have 10 systems even in RevSure in our GTM tech stack, right? And we're able to apply AI to help us manage our own campaign pipeline predictability, right? So that's the first step. And the second thing, the key data points to improve accuracy are actually to be discovered. So you want to be able to capture the most important touch points and the most frequent touch points, right? And the most frequent GTM activities and campaigns that you're doing, right? Whether that's paid, that's digital, your trade shows, conferences, in your GTM motion, you know which ones those are. And as long as you capture that, you'll be able to drive better predictability. I know we are almost out of time. We'll make sure that, there are a few questions. We'll kind of make sure we answer those questions in the summary in the email as a follow-up. Thanks everyone for joining. Hope you enjoyed the webinar, and I would encourage everyone to continue the conversation. Thanks, Katie, for spending the time and taking the time to join us. And we'll also send you a link to our Future of Attribution white paper as part of our follow-up email, and hopefully you'll find that useful, and we'll look forward to staying in touch. Thank you, take care, and have a great day. Bye.